What's up, girlies? It's me again. I'm making a video after God knows how many months of radio silence after the last Snowpiercer video I posted. The reason why I've not been posting is not because I've been crunched for time or because I couldn't be bothered. It's just that I had very little to say. Overall, I didn't really have much to say about the promos. I didn't really have much to say about any of the leaks that we were shown or even any of the episodes themselves. And I didn't really see the point in making a whole video and going to the effort of making a video when I could just create a post on Tumblr with a couple of images and that would be the end of it, because people tend to see my Tumblr posts a lot more and I thought the reach is going to be a lot larger. But now that season 3 is over, I remembered that I did do that one video a while back which was my hopes for season 3, and this was written and published well before we got any real promos or any real leaks. We didn't really know what was going to happen, and with only the knowledge of season 2 to go by, I made a bunch of predictions being like, hey, this is what I hope will happen or what I think will happen, and I thought to myself, I can make another video where I analyse whether or not these predictions actually came true. So that's what I'm going to do in this video, and I will try and be serious. I'll try and make some kind of analysis of like whether I think they came true well or not, whether I liked it, whether I disliked it, but there's also a fair amount of jokes in here, so make of it what you will, essentially. Prediction number 1, Melanie lives. So Melanie came back alive. You know it, I know it, we all know it. The only problem is she didn't come back pregnant. Prediction number 2, Ruth gets a girlfriend. So, obviously, we know that this one didn't come true. I suppose they used up all the gay juice on Audrey and Till. Make of that what you will. I was not expecting Ruth to get with Pike. Of all people in the show, I would sooner have believed her to get with someone like Roche rather than flippin' Pike, okay? I didn't think that they would even want to make Pike a romantic interest. I didn't think he had the potential for that. But I actually did kind of like their relationship. I did, and I'm kind of sad that Pike died because, you know, it seemed like Ruth is always losing the people that she cared about, and it's like, give her a girlfriend or a boyfriend that stays alive, for fuck's sake. I hope that she gets another chance at actually enduring romance in the next season, because all of you guys know that she deserves it. And whether that's with a woman or a man, I don't mind. I just hope that she has someone to love her and take care of her like she's been doing with everyone else. That's all I want. Prediction number 3, Audrey or Zarah don't die or suffer. I guess when it comes to this prediction, you kind of have to think about what your definition of suffering is, because neither of them died. They're both still very much alive, but they did kind of go through it this season, and in my opinion, it wasn't necessarily suffering, because they did get their vindication in the end, and they did get to have some stuff fulfilled, and they did get to have a reasonably happy sort of ending, but yeah, they really went through it this season. We had Audrey's whole flippin' rock bottom thing. I mean, that kind of was suffering to some degree, but she does get to hang out with Till at the end, and she's back to her place in the nightcar, so I'd say she kind of made a full circle journey there. Zarah, she went through it with the baby because she had to give birth, and then she had all of that stuff with Leighton. I'd love to rant about that, because that whole drama with Leighton and the baby was one of the most stupidest things I've ever seen. But unless you want to hear me, a health science student, rant about bodily autonomy and informed consent, I'm not going to talk about it because it's been said so many times before, and we absolutely tore it apart the day the episode aired on Tumblr, so I'm just going to leave it there. You know how much we all hated this scene, but ultimately, I'm glad they didn't die, even though I was very sure that one of them would, because I remember thinking about season 3 and thinking about where Zarah and Audrey ended up at the end of season 2, and I thought, where are their stories going to go? To be fair, I kind of believe that Zarah's story has stalled. I mean, she has the baby, but like, what's the baby going to do? Just a baby. So I'm wondering, what's she going to do in season 4? Is she going to be part of something big, or is she just going to be another sounding board for Leighton's ideas and then the Leighton-Josie relationship? Personally, I thought there was a lot of drama for her in the beginning of the season. They didn't really go anywhere, so I'm excited to see what they do with her in season 4, but I'm also not holding out much hope that it's going to be good. Prediction number 4. Wilford cries. Okay, so this video is mostly a reasoned, hopefully eloquent analysis, I suppose, of how season 3 either fulfilled or dashed my hopes, but this is just going to be me being a solid gremlin for however long I get to talk about this. I really hoped that I'd get to see Wilford shed a tear, even though he came very close to it, and the scenes where he was, vulnerable and weak and in pain, they definitely brought me a lot of joy, and I will be thinking about them for the rest of the year, but I wish he just shed one little tear. I wish he just cried just for a little bit. I was hoping that when he saw Audrey in the pirate train in front of him, I thought that would be it. And I was on the edge of my seat thinking, oh yeah, he's going to show some emotion, he's going to reveal himself as actually really caring about Audrey. And I think he did reveal himself in that way, but not in the way I would have liked. Yeah, and I just feel really sort of teased by that scene because I was hoping that we would get to see him cry and show some emotion, and we didn't. And so I'm still a bit mad about that. However, all of his sort of granddad moments and all of the moments where he was, not the strong guy, but he was actually kind of like a pathetic old man, I really enjoyed those scenes. So even if I'm mad that I didn't actually see him physically cry, I'm still very glad that we got to see Wilford in his pathetic element. This is what I've been saying in all of my impregs, that Wilford is better when he drinks the needy pathetic juice. He slurped it up this season, and I feel very vindicated. Prediction number 5. Josie gets to reflect on Melanie. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way. We know that this didn't actually happen in the show or in season 3, and ultimately this is the prediction that I'm most mad about not coming true from an objective standpoint. Like, I'm mad that Wilford didn't cry, but that's because I'm a gremlin and I like thirsting over men crying. It's not necessarily something that would have been necessary for the show to have been good, but I am mad about Josie not getting to reflect on Melanie because I believe that it's just really stupid and really out of character, really annoys me. I guess it also dovetails really nicely with the idea that Melanie doesn't really see that many consequences for her actions, even though there's a lot of different things she could have done. She could have made a lot of different choices which didn't result in victimization of vulnerable people or killing people or hurting people. And I guess Josie not being able to reflect on what was done to her is probably like the cherry on top of all of that. Like, you would think that for Josie, who was tortured by Melanie and left to die, then dragged out of an ice-covered room, forced to go through probably many weeks and days of painful, traumatic recovery, would have some feelings about how Melanie essentially made her be in that position and how Melanie also came close to robbing Miles, I'll talk about Miles later, of his mother, but this is just never brought up, not by the show or by Josie herself. There's many times where Josie, because of her, ice-resistant capabilities, is asked to save Melanie, essentially. Like, she goes out in episode 1 to save Bennett because they think that's where Melanie might be, and then later on in this season she jumps out and helps get the track scaler onto Snowpiercer, and not once is it ever sort of, acknowledged that Josie is essentially helping to save the woman who killed her for not even a good reason. But then, of course, Melanie getting saved is about something that is bigger than everyone else. It's about the train, it's about defeating Wilford, it's about finding a new place to live so that humanity doesn't have to live on a train that's breaking down for 30, 40 more years until they all die. And I'm just a teenager. Maybe adults are able to put aside those sorts of things for the benefit of the greater good. Maybe Josie was able to say, well, I was tortured, but you know what, Melanie is the best chance of giving my child a better life, so I'm just going to push all of that down and help her and save her, because doing that will result in a better life for the people I care about. I understand that. However, even if I can understand that from Josie's point of view, I don't understand that from Miles's point of view. We know that in episode 10 he said that Melanie and Ben are the best engineers he's ever seen and that he has to keep learning from them. That's why he stays on the train while Josie and Leighton, who have been in essence his parents for the past 7 years, go to New Eden. And I can understand that he might even have a good relationship with Ben now. I mean, Ben did say that he was going to throw a child Miles down the composting toilet, but it is very likely that Ben went back and made amends for what he said in the heat of what was a incredibly stressful moment. But the fact that he wants to go back to Melanie, someone who victimized his entire community full of people he probably loved and cared about, someone who harassed and exploited his father and even druid him just because she wanted to get rid of him, and someone who killed his mother for no good reason. Why does he go back to that? How can he even hugs her at the end when the train doors are closing and they separate? Melanie hugs him. That's just such an unearned moment. There's no apology, there's no making of amends, there's no going around moment where Melanie said, hey, I caused you an untold amount of trauma during your formative years, I apologize. No, none of that. It just all easily smoothed over. If you could have an entire episode dedicated to a fucking dream sequence, and I'm not knocking the episode itself because I really did enjoy that episode, surely you could have some time to dedicate to Melanie actually making it realistic that people would even want to still be with her in a personal capacity. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too much more about this because many other people have said this on Tumblr much more eloquently than I could ever hope to express it, so I'm just saying that's my opinion and that's something I'm still going to be mad about. That's creative direction I really didn't like. Prediction number 6, LJ dies. I know that there are some people in this fandom who really like LJ, and I'm not about to judge anyone for liking the characters that they like. I mean, as a very respected member of the Wilford loving community, I don't have any room to judge by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm glad that she died. I think that her story had sort of come to a natural end, and I was glad that she sort of popped off before her character sort of went around in circles and sort of got a bit boring. And I do realise that LJ's actress was also filming something else. I think she's still filming something else now, so that is kind of the reason why she was sort of cut from the show by dying. But ultimately, I liked LJ's death. I liked how it happened. I liked its thematic value. I liked that it happened at the place that it was in now, because LJ was quickly, in my opinion, becoming boring as a character. You know, her only sort of purpose is seemingly to annoy the other characters and be a villain, essentially. And when you have other people creating problems like Kevin and Wilford and all of that other sort of nonsense, LJ sort of loses her place. She doesn't become interesting. She just becomes kind of an annoyance. You know, like, why do we need a villain of this caliber when, you know, other people are already causing problems for our main characters and derailing, pun intended, things that we actually care about. And as much as some people did not like her death scene, I personally really liked it for its thematic value, because it's really fucking stupid to die in that way, but it really well ties back to her earlier episode monologue of the universe is indifferent. You know, they didn't care that LJ was this person who always had control of the situation, who always could get herself out of tight spots, who always had a master plan. They just took her out in a really sad, pathetic, lonely way. I still believe that's what she deserved, but ultimately, yeah, the universe wasn't different, and it gave her a stupid death that no one was around to see. And I really appreciate that. I really like that this prediction came true. Prediction number 7. Audrey gets a redemption arc. So we all know that this one did come true. we did see Audrey get a redemption arc, and that was largely powered by Audrey's relationship with Till, but I will talk about that in more depth later. I am happy that she got redeemed. I liked her as a character in season 1. I hated her direction in season 2, and I was really holding out hope that, she would come back. She would sort of be this badass therapist type that we all knew and loved from the first season. And we got it, but at what cost? Mainly my problems with it are how the Audrey/Till relationship was used in that sort of goal of redeeming her, but I'm also kind of mad that she didn't apologize to people like Zarah. There was a lot of talk about how Zarah was like, this isn't you, you're not that kind of person to Audrey, and that was just never brought up again. I'm kind of mad about that. I mean, obviously Audrey was at rock bottom, and she probably didn't get to see Zarah very often, if at all, but surely they were in the night car together at some point, so we couldn't have seen like a quick little conversation between the two. Okay, so now on to the meat of this Audrey discussion. We all know that the Audrey-Till relationship was a really big driver for Audrey's eventual redemption, and to be honest, I have very mixed feelings about this relationship. Normally I either love something or I hate something. There's not really sort of any in between, there's not really any neutrality, but this time I had very mixed feelings on the relationship because I loved it for certain reasons and I also hated it for certain reasons. And I will say why I loved it first, positivity first. I liked it because it was really good queer representation from my point of view. I mean, aside from the fact that one of them is a cop, but it was just very quiet, very ordinary, no fanfare. There was never a label of, oh, we're in a gay relationship. It was just delivered just very naturally in the same way that straight relationships have been delivered for years, decades now, and that was something I really appreciated. I really appreciate that the show is going in this direction of having this kind of thing be normalized without any real sort of label talk. And not gonna lie, it is a cute relationship. I did like some of their interactions, even if I can disagree with how the show got them there to begin with. And ultimately, the big sort of event of this relationship, as you all know, is that Audrey stays behind on Snowpiercer, and at the 11th hour, Till rushes back to be with her and stay on Snowpiercer for the foreseeable future. And I have a lot of problems with both of those events, both of those choices made. So I'm going to go in order because I think they both relate to Audrey and her redemption arc. Audrey stays on Snowpiercer because she wants to remain with the night car. She believes that she can help people there. She believes that the night car is part of her, that she belongs to the train, and that's why she wants to stay. I think that's really stupid because the train, from the beginning, has never belonged to anyone but Melanie and Wilford. Wilford's initials are stamped all over it. It's his magnum opus, if you will, and for Melanie, it's essentially her baby. She's always sacrificing her personal relationships for the good of the train. And with that in mind, why would Audrey want to stay on the train? First of all, Wilford was abusive and treated her really badly. One big part of her redemption arc is that she's moving out from the shadow of Wilford and realizing that she wants to be a different person that is not affected by him or connected to him in any way. We see this because she literally shuts Wilford in the track scaler in episode 10, which was a real boss move, I must add. So, with that in mind, why would she want to stay on the train where reminders of her former abusive lover are literally stamped everywhere? Similarly, Melanie is also stamped all over the train in a much more symbolic way than, Wilford W's. Melanie victimized people she cared about, similarly to Miles. And I'm just like, why? Why would you want to stay on a train where there's so many bad memories and there's so many negative connotations attached to it? I mean, Melanie victimized all of third class. Her negligence with the drawers caused the death of someone that Audrey assumedly really cared about, really loved, and it just doesn't make any sense that that is her reason for staying on the train, Audrey's reason. I mean, it would have been better, in my opinion, if you were going to ask me, that Audrey say something like, I don't know who I am without Wilford, or I'm too scared to leave without knowing what's out there. I mean, both of those reasons would have been a bit stupid, but they would have made more sense. And then, of course, we have Till rushing back to Audrey at the 11th hour, just before the train disconnect, and that means that Till is essentially forfeiting her one chance at New Eden, chance of living off train, a chance of being able to go outside without being scared of the cold, for Audrey. And it was a cute scene, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not a monster, my heart still melted when I saw Till rush across and being all loving to Audrey, but when I was able to think about it later, I was like, that's really stupid. It should have been Audrey running across, ultimately. I think that would have really sealed her redemption arc in that she is finally breaking free of Wilford, she's breaking free of his train, of his ideals. Because, of course, earlier she said that it was just a dream, New Eden, essentially. She said that Wilford was stupid for believing in it, for believing that the science had merit, and if she ran across to be with Till, if she chose Till and she chose New Eden, that would be the ultimate nail in the coffin of her connection to Wilford, essentially. She would be turning her back on everything he believed in, everything that he built, and essentially becoming this new person that is willing to be with Till and willing to follow her dreams. Instead, we had this moment where Till was forced to give up what she believes in for a relationship that she's been in ultimately maybe 3 days. I think, personally, what they should have done was maybe stretch out the relationship building way more. Like, they should have started it maybe back in the first episode of season 3 or the second episode, back when they were still on the pirate train, because when you think about it, Audrey spent a long time being a bitch. She spent a long time being the lapdog of Wilford, and the fact that Till is so punch drunk for this woman, essentially, just seems really stupid. I mean, she's an adult. Surely she should realise that you shouldn't make these kind of life-altering decisions for someone that you've been in a romantic relationship with for so short of a time. And I do like it, but only because other people have made it nice. Other people, namely Train Pirate, have really fleshed out their relationship in a way that the show didn't do. And yeah, that's the only reason I like this relationship. That's the only reason I like the way Audrey's redemption arc went, because other people who were not the writers made it better. Oh, and one little addition. One other reason I think Till should know better is that she married Jinju, and I know Jinju is like verboten in the show now because the actress left or whatever, but she married Jinju after only 3 months, and that relationship fell apart because they were lying to each other. Surely she should know now not to rush into anything or make any really big decisions because of a relationship you've been in for like such a short period of time. It doesn't end well. Prediction number 8. Javi lives. So, this one came true. You know it, I know it, we all know it. Javi's actor was posting during season 3 filming saying that he was in Vancouver. He was on IMDb for all 10 episodes. We knew that he was going to be around, and we knew that he was going to be getting up to some fun stuff. But of course we wondered what would be the effect of this dog attack. Would he be traumatized? Would he be disfigured? Would he sort of be trapped with Wilford, essentially? And all 3 of those things ended up coming true. So there's that. And I keep saying, yes, he lives, but at what cost? And I'm glad that Javi is alive, not for any really stupid thirsting reason, like I would be with Wilford if he happened to die, but just because I enjoyed seeing him on screen. He was a fun little, I suppose, counterweight to the impact of Melanie and Ben, and, you know, I thought he was quite a good different personality from those two. You know, he's kind of by the book, and he's very resentful and bitter, but then he's slowly starts to become a character that you actually like and actually want to be rooting for. But I felt really sad for him when he came back from Big Alice, because it felt like nobody had any time for him, essentially. Nobody wanted to help him with his trauma. No one really understood what he was going through. It felt like he was essentially being pushed aside because his trauma made him like a worse train driver. And I understand that you don't want someone who has flashbacks to be driving your train because you could die if they drive you off the track or whatever, but the fact that people he once considered friends, that once were, cared about him, were suddenly treating him like he was annoying, like he was a burden. That was kind of sad to see, and I am glad at the end that things seem to have been fixed up and that his friends seem to care about him a bit more. But the fact that he had to rely on Sykes, a person who was once his enemy and who was once allied with the person who hurt him in order to get help for his trauma, is like kind of sad. But ultimately, I'm glad that he's alive, and I'm glad that he got to see New Eden. I mean, I would prefer that he didn't get attacked, but ultimately, I like where he ended up at the end of Season 3, and if they did no more seasons of the show, obviously that's not true because we know Season 4 is coming. Even if it ended at Season 3, I would still be happy where he ended up. So this is a prediction that I'm glad it came true, and I'm reasonably happy with the way it came true as well. Prediction number 8. Alex and Javi become friends. This prediction is kind of a little weird for me to think about so far on from the original video I did because it was kind of like an extra prediction. I think I honestly just wanted to pad out the runtime of the video, the original one, which is only about 8 minutes long, because I was looking at Alex and Javi and Big Alice, and I thought I want them to become friends because Javi is trying to be nice to Alex, he's trying to be kind to her, he's trying to joke with her, and of course Alex is really distrustful. She's not responding to him, she's not reciprocating his, I suppose, overtures. And I was kind of hoping that as Alex's sort of deconstruction, if you will, from Wilford progressed, she would open up more to the engineers, to her mum's friends, and she would understand that they're not out to hurt her, they're not out to sort of get her, they're just there. She can be friends with them if she wants. And she kind of got to that level with Ben, but I never really saw that with Javi. But I'm hoping that since Javi is the only engineer left to go to New Eden with, that maybe she'll have some fun with him. Maybe they will have a deeper relationship when we come back to them in Season 4. And this one isn't entirely serious, but I am still kind of sad that it didn't really happen. I hope that it happens in Season 4 because I feel like they kind of have similar personalities, and I think they would really mesh well together if they can actually come out of their shells and be friends with each other. You know what is an extreme sport? Trying to record an almost half-hour long video in the spaces between your lectures and before your mother goes to bed in the room right above yours. But now the video is over. That was a lot. Almost half an hour, as I said. I'm kind of glad I did it. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. I ended up rewatching my old video, and I just sort of thought about, hey, what do I think about how the season went? And oh, by the way, this entire video was unscripted, which I'm very proud of. I think it's quite cohesive for a video that was essentially come up with on the fly. I tried to write a script, but I couldn't be bothered. I'm very busy. I'm always writing essays, and I thought, oh, fuck it. I don't want to write anything. I don't want to type anything more than I need to, so I'm just going to go for it. If it's bad, then it's bad, but I don't think it's bad. I actually think it's quite good. So join me, I suppose, in 3 months' time when we start getting promos for Season 4, because then I'll be like, hey, what are my thoughts for Season 4? No, I'm glad to be posting videos again. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do you agree with me or not? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what people say about this video. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to my channel, I guess, if you haven't already. Thank you for your time. I guess that is all.